let's get started. So the basis of this first part of this presentation is a survey that all of your student officers got together and did. Lots of different kinds of questions talking about what it's really like. And I'm going to start by talking about the benefits. So this is just a very brief summary of some of the main benefits that the officers listed. These ones showed up over and over again in comments. Money for conference attendance. If you didn't know, there is some money allotted to student groups to allocate for some of their officers to go to conference. It's different for each group how they decide who goes, so it's not like guaranteed that you're going to get money to go to a conference, but that is a benefit that people enjoyed. Experience for your Eportfolio, experience to include in your resume or CV, professional association benefits, and I'll talk about that in a second. And one of the biggest ones that came up for everybody was just over and over again, people said networking, being able to connect with their fellow students, but also the opportunity to connect through, the events that we put together for you guys, to be able to connect with professionals out in the field and be able to talk to them and kind of form friendships with people that we wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity. So networking has been a big benefit that shows up in the surveys. Professional association benefits. I asked, are you a member of your organization's parent association? Most people said yes, that they were. I know for my group, it's a requirement that you have to be. I don't know if it is a requirement. We can talk about that a little bit more later, but then I also asked, do you feel like being on the executive committee helps you understand and or access the benefits of your membership more fully? And a lot of people here in the blue said yes, they did. Some others said maybe. I felt like that was an important question or a point to get across, because there were some aspects of my parent association membership that I didn't realize that I had, or I didn't quite know how it was going to benefit me until I actually got involved with SAA. So, and once you join, there are people labeled all kinds of different benefits from just being a member of that association. Mentorship was one for a number of programs. Discounts on workshops, webinars, publications. Often you get a monthly magazine, newsletter, job search and resume help. There's a lot of help there through your professional association. And once again, networking, the ability to meet people. For mine, particularly for SAA, the access to the national membership list helped me find archivists in my area for a assignment that I had to do for one of my classes. And it helped me to know who I could talk to for arranging events and that sort of thing, but it had a number of different benefits along the way. So networking, being able to find out who's in your area and how to get involved. And a lot of people thought that being involved in a professional association in general was a huge, important aspect of our student experience. I think getting involved in a professional association is incredibly important to this industry, especially if you are just starting out in a new career. You can learn a great number of things about how the information world works from fellow members, both in the parent org and student chapters, which will provide great experience and knowledge moving forward. And another person said, the greatest benefit is that you feel more involved in your profession and learning community, even before you might necessarily be working in the field. I just wanted to pause. Did anybody have any comments about that? Because I think that that's kind of a really important aspect of being a student leader, is this involvement with our fellow students, networking within the professional associations.
So this is John Luke Christensen. I'm the president of the Generation Student Group and past president of SLA. And just one of the things that I would say is that one of the fundamental truths of being a student and just in any field that you engage in is that you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And I can honestly say that one of the ways that I have learned the most about our field and about the opportunities that are available to us with our degree and with our professional track is through networking. My engagement with SLA primarily, and going to national conferences and getting involved with the local chapters and things, it's what has contributed to me working where I now work. For those of you who don't know, I work for NASA at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and that is something that never would have happened had I not gotten involved with SLA. I directly learned of the internship opportunity through SLA and connections that I made there. And I've met incredible professionals from across the country. I've met the director of the library at the State Department. I've met, Dr. Hirsch, the iSchool's director, in person multiple times. There's a wealth of information that you can get, and a lot of times it's information that you can only get by interacting with other professionals in your field. So I really, really like to emphasize to people to get engaged with their professional organizations for that reason.
Great. Amy?
I'd like to add on to what Jean-Luc said, because I had the opportunity last year to go to the SLA National Conference. And one of the things that makes it really nice is that I met 2 other fellow student chapter members, and I wouldn't have, because they live on the East Coast, if I hadn't gone. So that bonded us a bit more when we're working on the executive committee projects. And they in turn went and met a ton of people and found us speakers for most of this year's events. So it's a wonderful way to tie in with what you're doing at school. And I also was able to put it on my resume, and in my the Eportfolio, I did use the experience I've done. So I highly recommend.
Excellent. So I'm gonna move along to some other quotes that we had, and these ones were about conference attendance specifically. And you guys were referring to that just now too. Being a part of student leadership provided money, and I mentioned that before. And conferences, like you said, are a great opportunity to meet other students in the program, but also other professionals that you can learn about internships. You can learn about the opportunities that you wouldn't know about otherwise, just by going to conferences and meeting people and networking. And that, I think we know that Jean-Luc, you were just referring to that. I brought in your quote here from the survey. There's actually, just to point out, there's concrete benefits to for your professional life, future life, to networking, to conferences, to taking advantage of the opportunities that you get from being a part of student leadership. And another person said, while the time commitment can be tricky, and we'll talk about time in a minute, with school and personal work obligations, I believe the experience of networking with other professionals and students is well worth it. Also at SJSU, the work also can be part of your ePortfolio competencies, which is an added benefit. I actually did have a question for those of you who are completing ePortfolio. Like specifically, what kinds of ways are you including student leadership work into your ePortfolio? If anybody wants to. Joyce.
So I'm completing my ePortfolio right now. Oh, sorry, I'm Joyce Pang. I'm the LASC chair. And for Comp M, which is the communications competency, I used a kind of write-up for from the work I did as part of LASC student chapter. And the write-up was because I was in charge of organizing the Huntington tour 2 times in a row. And so I wrote up a report for future organizers for them to know like some of the advice and suggestions. And so that was a example of a written communication. So I used it in my Eport, and that competency passed.
Nice. Oh, okay, Jean-Luc, go ahead.
So I'll just quickly add, for one of my competencies, I was able to use a grant that I helped co-author with Dr. Bernier for the first generation student group. And I was able to use that grant and the work in it for competency C, which was on diversity, because it's the first generation student group. So there are a lot of practical applications. That's just one of many times in my portfolio that I was able to use student group work.
Nice. Okay, Amy, go ahead.
I used mine in Comp B for when I was the assistant communications director and I was writing blogs. I was able to put that in under Comp B for environments of describe and compare organizational settings in which information professionals practice, because my blogs were writing about different libraries, different types of libraries, and comparing them.
Nice. Yeah, blog writing is, that's something that you can participate even not as an officer. You can kind of be a volunteer person who comes in and helps write blogs and participate that way too. But that's actually really good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move on here. So this next part is about the hesitations that you guys might have. That I know I had some hesitations. I wondered, I thought that it might help to talk about the way that I considered whether or not I was going to run. One of the main things that I was concerned about was time. Is this going to take over my life? And I hope that the answers to the survey we have here is encouraging for you guys. But before I reveal the survey results, I wanted to point out, this is another aspect of the survey. I asked, what other aspects of your life are you responsible for? What other things do you have going on that take up your time? Obviously school for all of us. A lot of us had jobs, full-time or part-time, volunteer work, families, a social life to try and maintain. Everybody said pets, self-care, house, laundry, house plants. Everybody included at least one of these. Most people included many of these categories. It's just, we all have a lot of things going on in our lives. And school and student organization is just one of them. So it is possible to still lead a very full life and be a part of student organizations. About how many hours per week do you spend on student organization work? Most people, half said 1 to 2 hours. Another good, almost 35% said 2 to 5. Very few people said more than that. And then we go between 5 and 10 and 10 plus hours. And I can't remember who it was that said 10 plus, but obviously it's really in the minority to spend quite that much time on student work.
I did that, Sarah.
You did? Do you want to kind of comment on that just for a second?
Well, for the SLASC, we only promote for vice president and president from within the group. Okay. So you're already used to the group. We don't start you out with 10 plus hours. Because I'm in charge of so much and having to juggle a lot of responsibility, and my faculty advisor is very much involved in this group. So yes, I can easily spend 2 or 3 hours in a given night several times a week. Okay. But that's unusual.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also said in comments that it was variable, that sometimes you would spend up to 5 hours in a week because you have an event coming up or you have something particular you're trying to accomplish. And then you might have a lull between events or between responsibilities where you don't spend much time at all. You just kind of spend 20 minutes total because you're trying to keep up on the emails within the group or group communications. So it really is variable, it looked like, for a lot of people. And I know that the more responsibility you have within the group, certainly the more hours you're going to spend. But a lot of people did say they didn't feel it really took over their life. And this was another aspect here. On a scale from 0 to 5, how much did your position impact your other responsibilities? 0 is not at all. 5 is it ruined my life. And you can see nobody said that it ruined their life. Some people did feel quite an impact in terms of time. But for the most part, most of us were right around 1 or 2 here. So it won't ruin your life. And also, there were some comments that were kind of important here. Time management is key. It is possible to not spend more time than you need if you manage your time well. Also, so start tasks early so you could break them up and work them around projects. All about shifting priorities. Some weeks I can put it closer to the top of my list, but other weeks it will slip to the bottom. And that's all okay. You do the best with what time you have. Also, I devoted quite a lot of time, but I felt like it was worthwhile time. And it gives me a lot to talk about in interviews and items for my resume and cover letter. In other words, so the time that you do spend, it actually translates into usable information for your professional life, things that you can talk about in an interview. Say, this is an experience that I had. In all of the time that I spent doing this job, I experienced a lot that can help me with this job. And also to emphasize, you are part of a team. This is another element that came out in the survey, that it's important to have a team attitude when it comes to the time commitment, that you're not the only person doing all the work, that the work tends to be split up between the whole team. And also, it definitely was not always easy, but it was always worth it. The most important thing was to work with your colleagues in the group and know your limits. If you couldn't do something because there was conflict, communicate with them, and it is always okay. Everyone in these groups work as a team and strives to make each other successful. And I have found that to be true. I wonder, I really wanted to emphasize this point of teamship because I felt the teamness of my group was actually one of the things I most enjoyed, the sense that I could kind of rely on my team members. So in terms of time, the time that it took, did anybody else want to add any more comments or?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind jumping in on the team thing, Sarah. This is Nicole, by the way. I'm the assist chair. And the team aspect of this is so huge. Like she said, you don't have to do this by yourself. That's why you are a team together. I've always had really positive experiences with my group within just our executive committee. But I also want to mention that, as you can see here, all of us student leaders are a team as well. So this whole idea came together because we all work together as a team. And we also get support from our faculty members as well. So each group has a faculty representative that works with the student group and connects them to the things within the iSchool. So it's all a team. It's not that you have to do this by yourself on top of everything else you have to do.
Anybody else have any comments on issues with time and the amount of time that it takes and it taking over your life? If not, I'll move on. So the second hesitation that I had was I didn't come into this having a whole lot of leadership experience. I mean, other than to share a little of my personal life, I'm the mother of 3 teenage daughters, and I'm a military spouse, and I manage, I move every 2 years. And so just being an adult means that I have a certain amount of leadership experience, actually, when you think about it. But I didn't really have anything that I could point to and say, yes, I do public speaking, or yes, I've done event organization or any of that kind of thing. So I hesitated because I didn't have any real experience I could point to. But that doesn't mean to say you can't, even without experience, you can still be a part. Did you have previous leadership experience was a question that I asked. So a lot of people did come into this with previous experience, but you can see there's a good chunk of us that did not. hadn't been a part of a student group before and couldn't really call on leadership experience that we'd had. Another question, how many semesters had you completed before you stepped into your position? And I think that a lot of people might think, well, I'm brand new, I've only been here one semester. You can still join in and participate, and probably the sooner the better, really. But just to see the results of this, there were actually a number of people who did not have any semesters under their belts. They came right from, or had maybe only completed 1 or 2. There's only 32% of us who had completed 3 or more, 7.1% who completed 4. And I don't have the exact numbers. There were 28 of us who completed the survey. So I don't know, I thought that the numbers would actually translate into these graphics, but they didn't. But so it's just interesting for me to have seen the breakdown, to realize that there were a number of people in student leadership who hadn't really been in the iSchool for very long, that they were new to the program as well as new to the student groups. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So in terms of experience, these were some of the comments. There was a learning curve to a lot of things, but it wasn't unmanageable. Experience working on group projects has helped. You have to be able to take responsibility for your part of the work, communicate with others, etc. And another said, I didn't have much direct previous leadership experience, but knowing the basic concepts of how to work efficiently with a team was helpful. You learn skills as you go. That's a really important point. None of us really jumps into one of these roles knowing everything about how to do it. Even if we've had a little bit of experience before, we're all on a little bit of a learning curve. But the most important skills that most people said they needed: written and oral communication, time management, organization. Some people said public speaking, but I think that that's, there's really a lot of behind the scenes work. So not a lot of people are really doing a lot of the public face stuff for these groups. But otherwise technology skills like Zoom, file sharing, being able to work remotely is really an important part. So obviously technology skills. These are skills that you're bringing to your student life anyway. The ability to communicate, to manage your time, to organize. So not only that, but these are skills that you're going to need to kind of carry over into your professional life anyway as well. Do you think you will need these skills in your current or future professional life? Most people said, yes, all of them, or yes, some of them. So do you feel any of these skills were enhanced by your experience in student leadership? Most people said, yes, definitely. I improved several of my professional skills. So that's kind of an important point. This isn't about necessarily bringing all of your experience to bear. This is about an opportunity to get experience, to learn how to do some of these things that you might need to use in your professional life. So do you need experience? Well, it's good to have a previous experience, but it's not necessary. Another person, I don't think previous experience is a necessity. The iSchool staff is very supportive. And I found that to be true. Definitely, between faculty advisors and the rest of the iSchool leadership committee, it's just, there's always somebody there who can answer your questions. And also from the very supportive student leaders around you. I mean, there have been a number of times we've called on fellow leaders to ask questions about this or that. So it's, once again, there's kind of a team aspect to this. Everything you need to know, you can learn how to do. There are plenty of people who can help you figure things out. Don't be afraid to learn. And as long as you're willing to dive in and learn, I don't think lack of experience should deter an applicant. It might increase your confidence and provide experience that you can use to open doors for you in the future. And concrete translation into future job, our future professional life. I think having the executive experience was huge on my CV. I remember it impressing my current boss when I told him about it, and I had just started my position. I'm glad I can point to it in job applications interviews in the future. So you're not necessarily bringing all the experience that you need. You will learn as you go. So don't be afraid if you don't have previous experience. Jump in. It is the best way to get experience. Does anybody have any comments about their experience?
I would add, and this is a broad term, but I would also remind people that relatively, considering things, the information profession is relatively small. And many of the specializations and fields that we go into are even smaller. And I have known in my own personal experience that there are people who specifically hire other people who engage with certain professional organizations. And so just having that behind your name of showing that you engage with different professional organizations can open opportunities to you, whether it's fair or not, for people out there who do have the power and influence over, potential careers for you. So, there is an added benefit from that perspective of, really the networking is a huge aspect of it. But when somebody sees that you engage with these professional organizations, especially at such a high level with, being on a student committee as being high level, you're much more likely to have opportunities in the future.
Did anybody else want to add anything before we move on? Okay. So I don't know how many people identify with this particular question or thought it was a good one to add in the survey, but I had just come from an event where somebody at one of our events had talked about they were a professional working in the field, and they said one of the biggest challenges for them was the fact that they are an absolute introvert. And I really identified with that particular statement. And it was a hesitation that I brought to all of this last year. I was like, I'm an introvert. I really have a hard time dealing publicly with people for a long period of time. And I think that judging by the survey, there were a lot of people who identified with that, actually. So to be clear here, when I say, would you identify yourself as an introvert, I'm absolutely asking people to self-identify. It's not based on a psychological definition or a personality test definition, although some people use that as an insight, but it's just pure self-identification. Would you identify yourself as an introvert? And you can see the green here is somewhat. I tend to be shy. But I also enjoy social interactions with people who are like me, is what didn't get included in the slide here. And then this purple here, which is the other largest piece of the pie. Yes, I have to keep my social interactions brief, and then I have to find a time to recharge afterwards. So a huge chunk of people who are currently serving in student leadership positions, I self-identify as an introvert to some degree. And then some people say maybe a little, you can't spend all your time being social. They like to get quiet. But there are a few extroverts in there. And there were a couple who said, absolutely, if I could find a shell big enough, I would climb in it and never come out. That's essentially what the survey was asking. And so it's just a lot of us who would I self-identify as an introvert. And it's, I'll be honest, it's hard for me to get in front of my computer, even just knowing that there are so many of you out there listening to me. It is hard, but it's not unworkable for an introvert. Next question, did your interactions with other team members, fellow students, and or other professionals in the course of your duties help boost your confidence in your ability to successfully manage your introversion in current and or future professional environments? Now, I asked this question specifically because it was a leading question, of course, but it's based on the fact that I've found that what I thought that I wasn't going to be able to manage in terms of introversion, I have been able to manage. And so a lot of people agree that yes, absolutely, the experience has helped us learn we can manage now and in the future. And it's kind of nice to be able to I don't know, jump in the baby end of the pool and before I have to jump in the deep end into the big bad world of my professional life, and know that I can manage this at this time. Next question, would you recommend student leadership to others who might share your level of introversion? And most everybody said yes, absolutely. And some people said yes, but I would also bring up some caveats. That's what we'll talk about a little bit here. Trust the other officers. They want you to succeed and will do their best to match your interests and skills to your assigned duty. Once again, you're part of a team. Talk to your team. If they know what your challenges are, then they will help you. Find your place in the team. There's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes, like I said, but it's also a supportive environment where you can challenge yourself. Everyone is learning. And also just be yourself. Nobody is judging you. Everyone just wants to have fun and do some good work. So before we move on, does anybody else want to kind of chime in on this introversion piece? It was kind of a personal topic of mine, but if you guys wanted to jump in here, Violet, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Violet. I am the social media coordinator for ASIST, and then I also do blogging assisting for ALASC. And I'm a definite introvert, but our committee for ASIST is pretty small. And so there are groups where you're not really working with a lot of people. We just meet once a month, and our meetings are pretty low key. So you don't necessarily have to be someone who enjoys public speaking or wants to be the event coordinator. There's a lot of behind the scenes roles, and just kind of as these comments said, there's supportive places for people of all different levels of outgoingness. So I definitely think that I would encourage people to still apply if they're interested.
All right, moving on here. So now this constitutes a very small amount of questions, but I have heard people ask this question. So what happens? I'm not in California. I'm way away. Can I still be a part of student leadership? And the answer is, remote work. We're all online students, so we're all working remotely. And so the nature of doing remote work, distance can be an issue in terms of time zones, but this is what we do. Remote work is what we do. Two of us were in California. One of us was on the East Coast. It was never a problem. You just have to manage the time that you spend, when your meetings are. It can be difficult due to possible time differences, but it can be feasible. Another person, and I put this on here, I'm pretty sure it was somebody from my association. I highly recommend Slack for group communication. I inserted that here because applause. Slack has been fabulous for our group at SAA. We have been able to almost eliminate the need for a lot of meetings. We don't have to be on Zoom all the time in order to do communication. It's like it's kind of like a closed social media system where our messages about certain topics go directly to each other, and I get a little announcements on my phone when people chime in. So on one hand, we're kind of always on with each other, and like Violet said, we're a small group as well. There's only 3 of us. We'd like there to be more, but there's only 3 of us, so we just are able to stay in constant communication that way without having to schedule meetings, because we're all pretty busy, jobs and that sort of thing. So also, unless you are in a fully front-facing position like circulation or reference, you will need to work with vendors or other libraries. This will be done remotely over the phone, in a webinar, or via email. Learning how to work well in a remote environment will only benefit you. Not to mention that more and more reference work is going to a virtual format. I thought this was a really great point that somebody made, that once again, a lot of what we're doing here is going to translate into our future professional life. We do have to learn how to be good with using Zoom or other kind of remote technology. And we do know have to learn how to be flexible with our time in order to accommodate distance. And we're doing that anyway with our online work in team group work for our classes and that sort of thing. So it really does, it works out just fine for student groups. Does anybody want to chime in on that particular topic? Amy, go ahead.
We have about 18 people on our executive board, and we can't ever, all of us, get together at once, but we have a set time for each month, and we do it at 6:30 p.m., which is, fairly late for the East Coast, but we try and keep our meetings to an hour so that they're in bed by, after 10:30 or something. But that's, and sometimes we'll have to meet on weekends. But it just takes that flexibility.
Absolutely. So it is possible, even if you're not in California or if you're someplace. I know I've met students who are actually in other parts of the world and overseas in various countries who are doing online work with SJSU. I think that would be a little bit difficult to manage time zones with something like that. But even then, technology is fantastic. There's a way to get around all that and still maintain communication. So, all right. So before we get into part two, I want to open it up to you guys to ask questions about the experience of what it's like, and any of the points that we've made so far about time management or experience or how particular groups work out remote work. If you guys have any questions, post them in the chat box if you want, and Courtney, if you're there, maybe you could kind of read them off if there have been any questions. I can't see questions while I'm sharing screen. So if there are any questions people have asked, please kind of shout them out now. You can unmute your microphone and speak.
There's some chatting going on, but I don't see any questions.
Okay. I thought, David, you unmuted your mic. Did you want to ask a question?
No, I just arrived here, so a little bit late.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're recording this, so the recording will be available later if you want to kind of catch the first part.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Uh-huh. All right, so let's move on to part two then, where we're going to kind of share with you the details of what kinds of positions are open and how you can sign up. Job descriptions will kind of describe some of the jobs to you that we'll tell you, and the election procedures, so you guys will know how to nominate yourself. So John-Luc, you're up first with First Generation.
Hey everybody, so once again, I'm John-Luc and I'm with the First Generation Students Group. So I helped found this group in early 2017. It was actually during my first semester with the school. So I've been in it for the long haul, but I am graduating now. So we are working on kind of some of our succession planning. I should go back and mention, so by first generation students, what we mean is we're talking about any student who considers themselves to be the first in their family to earn a graduate degree. Now, it's a very fluid definition. For instance, I am not the first person in my family to receive a master's degree. My dad received a master's degree. However, I've pretty much done this on my own. There hasn't been a lot of support and engagement, and I haven't had a whole lot of resources within my family in order to be able to do this. So therefore, I consider myself fairly first generation, or at least having many of the same experiences as other first generation students. So for us, we do have a few of our positions available right now. I'll kind of start at the bottom. We're looking for a programming director. Since the group is still fairly new, and recently this year has become much more active, we don't have anything set for programming. So we have an idea of what we would like the person to do, but it's the nice thing about it, it's a position, as with many of these, that can be mended and adapted to your ideas, to the types of things you would want to do. Webmaster is very much the same. We do have a website, which I'll show you on the next or on the next slide. We have a vice president position available, and then the president's position will be coming available at the end of this semester, kind of over the summer as I graduate in May. There's a potential that some current members of the executive committee might step up to the president's position. There's a possibility that they may not. So it's a really good opportunity to kind of jump to the top if you're looking for that kind of thing. You'll have the support of myself, the entire executive committee that's already there, and obviously our faculty advisor. We would all be there to support you, throughout your term. So if you have an interest in that, please definitely contact us. I think Sarah can move to the next slide. So for, because we're still a new group, we don't really have a nomination window. We don't really have a voting window. It's kind of rolling as we get interest and people want to join. The executive committee will take it up as they come. If you want to nominate yourself, we ask that you send an email to us at firstgen.sjsu@gmail.com with your name, phone number, and email, letting us know what position you're interested in and a personal statement, preferably telling us why you'd be good for that position. You can find more information on our website. It's through the iSchool blogs site, and if you go to just First Gen, that'll take you to the homepage, but the executive council page lists all the members of our current executive council, a little bit of a bio about them, and then what their individual job title or job descriptions include. And the same thing goes for ones that are currently vacant. They have the description of what we think they should include, but because it's still such a relatively new group, it's very fluid, and you'd have a lot of ability to be able to kind of engage with us and the community in the ways that you'd be most interested.
Jean-Luc, I'm wondering, because you are so new, so just an example of what you have been doing in the past year or so?
So the first couple years that we've had the group going, we did things like we established founding documents, creating what positions we were going to have, mission, vision, and value statements, things like that. We established the website, social media we've gotten going. So we have Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then what a lot of our time was dedicated to was our faculty advisor, Dr. Bernier, was kind of inspired by this group to write a grant through ALA, through their diversity group, which he actually won the grant for. And so we worked on a project to interview first-generation students. And so we helped him design that grant and that project, which he then went ahead and did. And then the research of that is now just starting to come to fruition. It's being presented at ALA. And so now that we've done that, we're really kind of hitting the actual group itself. So we've started a blog. We have a blog editor who's working on probably a twice monthly blog series, and programming. We'd like to start working on that. So if someone's interested in that position, we'd love to start soliciting speakers and starting to work on that process. So those are kind of our next steps.
Thank you.
So great. So then I'll just end with thanking everybody for their time and just letting them know, first generation's here. Even if you can't participate on the executive committee level, we'd love for you to go to our website and sign up for the membership list to get the emails and things like that. Join our social media, which can also be found on the website, because really our big thing is to start building community engagement. That's really our next step. And I will post the website link in the chat box, so that way you actually have a clickable link. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jean-Luc. If anybody has any more questions for Jean-Luc, if you feel like asking now, or we can pause at the very end after everybody's done. But feel free to ask here now if you have any questions. All right. Next up, I guess I am next up. So SAAC, we are opening our self-nomination process here very soon. For SAAC, there are membership requirements. That's not necessarily a problem if you don't have a membership right away, as long as you get a membership with SAA, our national organization, by September. I think that a number of groups actually have membership requirements for their groups as well. So I don't think it's unusual, but you do get with, I think it's Info 202. Is that correct? I'm not sure. It's one of those initial courses that you take when you join the iSchool. You do get a free membership to a group of your choosing. I happen to choose SAA, and so it was just a carryover from my free membership. And when I renewed, it really was not very expensive at all. So, so there's a membership requirement, but as long as you join by the beginning of the fall term, you're good. What's opening, all three positions are opening up. Our terms are ending here. So the chair position essentially is kind of like I oversee meetings, I oversee planning events and announcing events. I'm also responsible for the annual update to our parent organization, SAA, and writing the final report for the year for that. It's pretty standard chair position kind of stuff. Vice chair is also our events coordinator. Oh, I forgot to mention, this isn't necessarily a permanent thing. I'm not sure how the next executive committee is going to handle managing editor position of Archeota, but in the past it has been the editor has kind of taken it over for spring term and then carries on with it in the fall. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. I'll have to work that out with the next officer for fall term, but the chair also kind of oversees our online publication, which is Archeota. And that's a student publication, articles by students on archives-related topics. Our vice chair is our events coordinator, as well as she will assume my duties if I were to have to vacate or be absent. But for the most part, I think Courtney's duties this year have kind of really heavily tended towards all of the events. She's really kind of been, we plan together a number of the events, but then she really carries out and executes arranging speakers and arranging our site visits and that sort of thing. And our secretary is obviously the secretary is in charge of minutes and the membership roles, but she's also our social media and web coordinator too. So she makes sure our announcements go up on Facebook and Twitter, and she makes sure that our website gets updated. And we are each kind of in charge of a team. If we were forming an events team, we had tried to do that. We had a hard time recruiting people to help out. Hopefully that won't be the case next year. Hopefully there will be enough people who might want to participate. Just maybe not as an elected officer, but on the events team or on the social media team. We did have a few people helping write blog posts and that sort of thing for a time. So that's something else you can participate in, even if you don't necessarily want to try and serve on the executive committee. As far as the details, we are opening up nominations on April 1st. And that'll go for about 3 weeks. You will submit your nomination by email to us, and you'll include your name, phone number, and your email, the position you desire, and then write a personal statement. And the personal statement is going to kind of go up on the informational site so that people can read it, kind of get to know who you are, where you are in the program, what your interests are. It'll help our members make a decision about who to elect. So when you write your personal statement, just keep that in mind, that's what that's for. Our voting window is April 22nd through April 29th. And then we will close the voting window down, and we'll make sure and have a notification out by May 1st. We don't have it posted yet, but we will soon have posted the detailed job descriptions up on our website, which is sjsusaac.weebly.com, and then also on our Canvas group site. And if you haven't joined our Canvas group site, that's how, aside from Facebook and Twitter, that is how we send out all of our announcements. So for instance, we just announced a tour of Huntington Library that's coming up, and we announce it first on our Canvas site so that SAA members have the first chance to register for any of our events, so that they're the first to know. So if you're interested in our events, go sign up on Canvas, and that's where you can get more information and all of the announcements about the elections. And I think elections will run through our Canvas group site as well. But I'm not sure. We still have some details to hammer out for that. I think that's it for me. Does anybody have any questions for me? Or I know my vice chair, Courtney, is here as well, so we can answer any questions about what the jobs are like or getting involved.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So thanks. First, I want to say I volunteer at the Huntington. I do gardening there. So that's pretty cool. You're going to tour that library. Let's see. What kind of okay? My question is, do we have to live in San Jose or in a certain city? I live in LA, or can these positions be done remotely?
Absolutely. I think they're all done remotely. There really aren't that many groups who have any kind of required face-to-face time. And especially if you're in the LA area, both Courtney and I are in the LA area too. I'm actually closer to San Diego, but we're, so that's why a lot of our events have kind of centered around Southern California, because that's where we are able to help host the events. But that doesn't mean that you have to be from a certain area in order to participate in the group. Our secretary, Annabelle, she's up in the Bay Area right now. And I know our previous chair was actually in North Carolina at the time when she was chair for SAA last year. So you can pretty much be from anywhere because all of the work that we do is remote. Most of our events are online. The events that aren't, it's just been a matter of, it's just been fortuitous for us to be able to host so many site visits because Courtney and I are both in SoCal. So.
Thank you. And one more question. How long are the terms for?
The terms are 1 year. We start the elections, right after the elections, when we have notifications come out, that's when we'll arrange with the new officers to do like a turnover meeting where we will kind of share with you all the things that we've been doing, all the things we didn't get to. We will share all of the passwords for our Google Drive and all of the technology that we've been using. And we'll just kind of hand over the reins to the next set of officers. They'll have the opportunity to ask a lot of questions. And also, one thing that was really helpful for us was we were able to keep in contact with the previous officers as well. So as we had questions, as we were getting into the next year, we were able to kind of reach out and contact them. So we had a transition meeting in the summer, and that'll vary depending on when everybody can kind of get together. And then starting in the fall, I guess starting late summer, really, you'll have the opportunity with the new executive committee to start making plans. But really, you start in the fall and you go fall semester, spring semester, unless something comes up for you and you have to. I mean, that's happened in the past, distant past, I think, but for the most part, the term is 1 year. So it'll be for 2019 to 2020 until next year's elections in April. All right, does anybody have any more questions for me for SAA?
There's a question that says, can you run for more than one position?
I think I remember reading in our bylaws that you can, that there is not a requirement that all the positions be filled by different people. I actually would have to look that up in the bylaws and make sure. I'm not really sure, but yes, you can run for 2 different positions. If you'd have to make a decision though, if you're elected for both positions, then you might want to make a decision about only doing one of them, because I can tell you from my experience, you probably only want to do one. Does that answer the question?
And Jean-Luc followed up. Are you asking Ashley specifically about SAASC, or are you asking about applying for or running for multiple?
Yeah, that's a good question. So to apply to different groups and different positions in different groups, I don't know exactly how to answer that.
You know, we have someone here who's an officer in 2 different groups, so I believe that is possible.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Amy has, go ahead, Amy, you have a comment.
Last year or a year and a half ago, we had the chair, I think, of the SAASC, Jennifer Castle, was our assistant blog editor for the SLASC.
Oh, okay.
So it is possible, but I know it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Violet's in 2 groups. So in my involvement with multiple groups over the years, I've seen a lot of people who engage with as executive committee members on multiple groups. I myself was the president of 2 groups at one time. It is a tremendous amount of work. It's something that I recommend you very carefully consider your school and personal professional obligations. It's absolutely doable, and there are a ton of benefits to it, not to mention the fact that it looks really good on a resume if you do it well and you do it successfully. People like to see that you can handle it. However, I would definitely recommend being very careful about it, especially since you don't know what's going to happen in the future. I know when I took on the 2 groups, I was not expecting to get a full-time job and then move and then. So just be very careful about how much you're committing to.
Absolutely. I second that. It's I'm not in multiple groups myself. I'm just in this one, but I know that my ability to commit time has definitely varied due to personal circumstances over the year. I mean, life happens. So you just want to kind of have enough wiggle room in your life before you commit to that much work, because 1 group is definitely doable, 2 groups is doable, but you do have to weigh the pros and cons there. Does anybody else have any other questions about serving with SAA, particularly, that I can answer before we move on? Okay, so next up is Nicole from Assist.
Hi guys, yeah, like she said, my name is Nicole, and I have been the Assist chair for 2 years now. I started out as the membership director, and then we didn't have anybody to fill our chair position, so then I had to step up and become the chair, and that has been a great transition. It was a huge learning curve, but I am so glad that I did it, and it's been rewarding since then. So I will just kind of outline our positions that we have, and we do have 3 of us graduating this semester. So I didn't put which ones are open or which ones are not. because I encourage you guys to apply for any of them that are interesting to you. And then, like has been discussed already, you for us, you can apply for more than one, but I don't think you can get elected for more than one. So I know we've had people in the past like apply for the membership director and social media, but they ended up only winning one. So that's how we've done that before. So like others that have in the chair position, basically we just run the meetings. I send out the agendas for our meetings. We meet once a month on a Sunday evening, just a common time for everybody and across all time zones as well. And then I am responsible for communicating with Dr. Hirsch. Dr. Hirsch is actually our program advisor, so that's been really cool to go back and forth with her with emails and whatnot. And then, yeah, so those are kind of my positions. The vice chair is primarily in charge of our elections. So I will have her talk about our upcoming elections here in April in a minute. And then, of course, if something would happen with my position, she would assume those roles as well. Our secretary and treasurer, that's pretty self-explanatory. She manages the money. We are lucky enough to get money from our parent organization every year. So that's kind of nice because then we usually use that money to raffle off for free memberships at one of our events, which is really cool. And then she keeps our minutes from each of our meetings as well. Programming director, that one is responsible for organizing our events. We do a lot of webinars because we are one of the groups that are scattered across the country. I'm from North Dakota, and there's a bunch of other areas that are represented in our group. So we do a lot of webinar-based programs, which has been great. So our programming director kind of arranges that, reaches out to the speakers, organizes the slides and whatnot. So that's kind of what the programming director does. The membership director, basically, from those Info 200 emails or the students that come in from that, she welcomes them into a group, sending them an email, and then kind of maintains those memberships and letting you know when your membership is up and kind of prompting you to renew your membership as well. And then our social media coordinator, Violet, she is also here tonight. She is in charge of our social media. So she runs our Facebook and Twitter and kind of promotes all of our events through that. So that is what I have to share with you guys. And then if you want to transition it to the next page, I will have Sarah talk about our elections.
Hi, everyone. This is Sarah, the Vice Chair of ASIST. So our elections are coming up. Nominations will begin April 16th and will run for about 10 days. The process is that any candidates will respond to the email that will go out with the statement of interest, a brief biography, and a photograph, and then we will gather all of that in a Google form and send it out via the Canvas group, and have the voting window in May with notifications coming out on May 15th.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. So that's kind of all that we have for Assist. Are there any questions specifically for our group? All right, well, thank you guys for your time.
All right, thanks, guys. Next up is ALA SC. And I think Joyce was going to speak for us.
Yes. Hi, I'm Joyce. I'm the ALAC chair for the spring 2019 semester. And we do have some, sorry, let me backtrack here. If you are a current SJSU iSchool student, you are automatically a member of ALASC. So this is really simple. You don't even have to be a member of the parent organization, ALA, and there are no fees to join our chapter. But if you if you do become a board officer, we do require you to have a membership with ALA if you run for office, you do not need to be a member, but if you do get elected, you should pursue the ALA membership immediately. And if you become the president and treasurer of the chapter, you must maintain overall 2.0 GPA and be enrolled in 3 units for us graduate students, as well as be in good standing with SJSU during your time in office. And there's other requirements. I won't get into that many details, but these requirements are needed, especially for the president and treasurer, because we want to be recognized as a official student chapter group with San Jose State University. So those are their requirements for us. And some of the perks of being recognized with SJSU is, oh, sorry, Kelly, it's 3 units for graduate students if you are a chair or a treasurer. Yeah. And I think that goes for any board positions as well. You just have to be a current student that's taking 3 units, at least 3 units. So it's good to be recognized as a official organization because we get some funding from that. And so our board positions that are open for spring elections are all of our board positions. We do have current officers in these positions, but their term ends at the end of this semester, and they may run as incumbents for these positions. But I encourage you all to run as well. And I'm just going to talk briefly over each of these positions and what kind of the main duties for each of them are. So for chair, which is my position, so basically kind of similar to what other student chapters chairs do, is oversee, manage the chapter, facilitate board meetings, as well as just responding to emails sent to our main chapter email and just providing guidance to the rest of the board. And the co-chair slash webmaster, they are in charge of updating the website, as well as assuming my duties if I'm not present, and helping me with other duties that I may assign them to do. So for treasurer, this person must be living near the San Jose State campus, because they must have physical access to the organization's funds, which are located on campus. So they have to physically go to campus and take care of some financial duties there. So that's one of their job responsibilities, as well as just reporting monthly on the financial condition of our organization. And sometimes the last semester, our treasurer was in charge of a fundraising event in San Jose. So that's another thing that they are welcome to do as well. So for our secretary, archivist is kind of self-explanatory. They take notes and then send those meeting notes out to everyone after the meeting has finished, as well as organizing and archiving documents in our team Google Drive, and just sending out events via the iSchool alert. The social media manager just is in charge of all of our social media platforms, just help us promote our events and news. The events coordinator, we have currently 2 positions open for events coordinator, and these 2 people will basically be in charge of organizing events, both physical and virtual. And the last position is blogging assistants, and we have 2 of them as well. And they are in charge of publishing content on our website blog and working with the webmaster on that front. And can you move on to the next slide, please? Okay, so we will send out an iSchool alert for our call for elections sometime during the week of April 7th to the 13th, and the deadline will be on April 30th. The voting window will be between May 2nd to May 8th, and voting will take place on Canvas, and there will be more details on that later. and we will notify election results on May 10. And just similar to other student chapters, please send us nomination to our email address listed here, with your name, your email, position desired, a short description of yourself, and why you would make a good fit for that position. And I also included our website if you want to learn more about our chapter and our positions. And I can also post it in the chat window here for your convenience. And that's it for me. Does anyone have any questions about our chapter specifically? No. Thank you so much all for your time, and I hope that everyone is interested in running.
All right, Amy, you're up.
Great. Hi, all. I have one of our VP, actually two of our VPs, both Karen Pfeffer and Michael Karras here, and I've got our communications director, Sharon Vigil. All three of us or four of us, I can't count, are here, and I don't know if they want to speak or not, but the SLA is different in our election process. We don't have specific dates when it's ongoing as openings come. And unfortunately this week we've had a few where people are having to step back out of the program entirely even. So what we're doing now is we have these 6 positions that are open. And the way it works is that each of the assistants is working with a director, and then we have 2 VPs and we have me. And I mentioned early on in the program that we are wanting assistants to come in who don't necessarily have a lot of experience, so we can help mentor you. And we have you get really comfortable with the group so that we all get to know you. And then we start saying, well, what are your aspirations? Where do you think you might want to go within the group? And how high up do you want to go? So we've been doing that recently with talking to people. And Karen or Michael or Sharon, does anyone want to talk about the various aspects of these roles that are open?
I think this is Karen. Hi, guys.
Thank you.
I've been chatting in the chat because I was coming home from my work, but now I'm here. Apologies for any misspellings along the way. It's hard to walk and text. I think I would talk specifically, Amy, about programming because it's such a huge component of what we do. And so what we're really looking for is somebody that's super passionate about that. It has some great ideas more than anything else. And again, like I think everybody sort of said, we don't need anybody that has tons of experience because I think we all have enough leadership as a team to be able to help in different scenarios where people might need a leg up or they might need advice. They just want to throw ideas around. What we've done is we've, between our monthly meetings, we've taken a lot of time to really do a lot of check-ins. It's where we realized we needed to add these extra assistant positions to support people as they've had, increases in work, either in their personal lives or with their school life. So we're trying, as much as we like to say that we have things set in stone, we're also responding to a lot of what people are asking for within our positions. And I think that's also why we're seeing a lot of transition at this point. Would you agree, Amy?
Yes, and thank you for pointing that out.
Totally. That's what I'm here for.
I have a really, really good support team. And as I mentioned, Dr. Cheryl D. is our faculty advisor, and she is very actively pursuing making sure that we work as a unit. And we do have 18 people on the actual executive committee, plus we have about 10 others who are members at large to share their expertise that we pull in from time to time as we need them. So we're making sure that we're all talking to each other. And that can be a trick when you have that large a group, actually. So, Sarah, if you want to switch to the next slide. So we do require a resume and a personal statement. Dr. D especially really likes to read over the resumes. A lot of people she will pull in from or invite. If you've had her for Info 204, she will find you if she wants you to join, and she'll say, please join. That doesn't mean that you can't join if you're not in Info 204, but she likes to find people that way. And we also make sure that you are met firsthand through Zoom by our membership director, just to talk about the position you're interested in, and so you can ask questions. That's what we do. And we've never actually turned anybody away, but because we have so many positions open a lot of the time, you get to choose maybe your top 3 positions that you are interested in. We are also looking for new opportunities for leadership development within our group based on your interests and on our chapter's needs. So we'll be putting out more information about that, but if you don't have any experience, don't be afraid to look us up. And you can submit a nomination to our Gmail account, sjsu.slasc@gmail.com. And you can go here that I'm posting in the chat box for looking at all the vacancy descriptions. Anybody else want to add anything from the SLASC?
Yes, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead, Sharon.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sharon Vigil, and I'm the Communications Director for the SLASC. And I just wanted to briefly share that when I first joined, I actually started off as the Assistant Communications Director, and honestly, I was very hesitant and nervous because I'm a major introvert as far as public speaking and that sort of thing. So, but I have to say it's probably the best thing I've done. It was a great decision, and I've actually developed I've developed my communication skills and overcome, a lot of fear of just fear that's unnecessary fear. So, and working as a team, I mean, the SLASC, the executive committee, they're amazing. We work so well together, and I just encourage you to just go for it. Step out of your comfort zone, and I guarantee you will not regret it. That's it.
I think I would second Sharon, because I was walking while you guys were talking about the whole introvert stuff. And I would say too, I mean, I've always dealt with a lot of social anxiety. And I think, whether it's SLASC or any other chapter that you feel like really just strikes your fancy, what I really appreciate is being able to really speak to what I know and what I've been learning through the MLAS program. And it's giving me a lot more confidence. So as I've been going out in my professional life, working at a library, but also as an intern at SF MoMA, feeling like I am a professional and feeling like that I can talk to people and feel like I know skills and I am proficient and I can be somebody that they can trust. And I think that that's something that this opportunity really speaks to, and it'll make you stronger at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, there's like only so much you can do when you're just learning something theoretically. You really have to take it into practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. That's a really, really great point. That, and I got to that a little bit when I was talking about experience, that it's, or not needing to have experience, that this is the opportunity for you to get experience if you don't have it. And it's the easy way to get experience, where you don't have to put yourself out there into, the real world professional environment. It's like it's taking baby steps into the professional world, where you have the opportunity, like you said, to feel professional and feel comfortable interacting in professional environments. Like, for instance, I'll be going to a conference here pretty soon. And last year, when I was at different points in my academic career, I was only like 2 semesters in. I was just finishing my 2nd semester. And I never would have thought to go to a conference. Not thought to, but I thought, okay, that's a ways out. I shouldn't even worry about that now. My professional life is still a little ways out. So, but I was just not comfortable with the idea of going and interacting with actual professional archivists when I'm not one yet. I'm just a student. But something about being in these associations really helps you to feel like you're being drawn in to the professional association. You're being drawn into the experience of having that professional credential, that professional, you're not just a student, you're part of something. So thank you for sharing that. That's a really great point, actually.
So the last thing I wanted to say is that because we have this ongoing recruitment, we also don't have a set time when you are in a role. The way we hope you'll stay on until you graduate, but we also understand that that doesn't always happen. And we don't want you to get stuck in one position that you may not care for after a while, or that you want to grow. And so that's why we make sure you have opportunities to learn other positions as well. So that's all for me.
Does anybody have any other questions for SLA about their elections before we move on? All right, just know, you guys, all of us are definitely open to hearing from you if you do have questions later on. And go find us on the iSchool website, where all of our websites are listed. You can find all of our contact information there. Just reach out to us, email us. We will answer any questions that you have. If you're wanting to know other things that you forgot to ask, or we're a little too shy, or we kind of moved too fast for you, definitely reach out. We're all willing to answer any questions that you have. So if there aren't any other questions showing up in the chat box, or if anybody wants to raise their hand about anything else that we've talked about tonight, now's your chance. All right, then. I'm just going to close with just a couple of thoughts from tonight. First, you don't have to have a long resume of experience under your belt. You can get involved. You'll get the experience. That's what it's for. You don't have to be a major extrovert. You can be an introvert and find your place in all of these teams, definitely. And it will not take over your life if you manage your time well and manage your time with your teammates. It doesn't have to be something that overwhelms your ability to accomplish your schoolwork and still have a social life and, watch Netflix once in a while. So it's not going to take over. So I just want to end now here by saying thank you to all of you who showed up. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I also want to thank all my fellow executive committee members. Thank you guys for completing the survey and then showing up tonight to talk with everybody. It's really good opportunity for people to hear our voices, our persons. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this event. Thank you. Best wishes for the rest of your guys' semester here, and good luck with all of your elections. I'm going to hang out for just a couple of minutes until everybody's gone, in case anybody else has any more questions they want to ask or anything. But the event is done. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks.
Hi, Sarah. This is Kavala. I think I met you in person last year, actually.
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm actually the iStudent blogger now, and I was wondering when you guys anticipate putting the recording up so I can link to it.
Pretty soon here. I'm going to, it'll download to my Zoom. It'll probably take about 45 minutes to an hour. I should be able to get it to my, up on our website by tomorrow, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the rest of the officers who would like to have a link to it, I will definitely email out a link to it in our Google Drive. I know that it's going to be too big for me to email, but I can definitely link to it, so you can access it and put it on
Perfect.
other websites as well.
Thank you so much for putting this together. It was so helpful.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I was glad to do it.
Yeah, I got a quick question, Sarah. This is David.
Sure, go.
So, you know, so these organizations sound interesting. So, do you think it matters like which type of one I would join potentially? You know, if it's like special libraries or whatever, and in terms of what my, you know, some of my career paths might be afterwards. Like if I join the SLA, for example, but then, you know, after I graduate, then I want to really want to get an academic library job or something. Does that really matter if it's kind of different in that way?
I'm not exactly sure yet. I know that any experience that you can put on a resume is going to be helpful for your professional life in the future. Even if you say, I worked with SLA as a student, but now I'm going into archives, or I worked with SAA as a student, but now I'm going to go work in libraries, or I'm not sure. I think it can help you. I mean, for definitely, my experience has been that I am much more embedded in SAA now after having been part of the student chapter. And so it's kind of the horses in front of the cart there. It's leading me down into that path. But I do know that I am interested in being a part of ALA too, or having experience on my resume that could look good for libraries in the future. So, but I don't think that that's any experience you have is not going to hurt. But it can definitely lead you down that path. And also you can kind of use it as a time to explore that association a little bit, because you don't really know until you get in there. And then you can kind of discover whether or not you feel like that association really is the right fit for you. So in some ways it could actually be a really good way to figure some of that stuff out. But I don't think it hurts to have SLA on your resume if you're going to go into your professional life ends up being an ALA or something like that. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. That's just give me some good things to think about. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. So are you a part of SAA right now?
Me, I'm a part of the Assist. That's the one that I joined with Info 200.
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting. But
I would actually advise go join all of the groups that you can. Join ALA. Well, you're technically kind of a part of ALA, but make sure you're signed up with them in Canvas so you get all of their announcements. Go sign up with SAA. Make sure that you're signed with a student chapter at least. You don't have to pay to be a part of these student groups for the most part. So go make sure you're signed up with as many student groups as you can be. And you'll get a feel for which groups have the kinds of events that are leading you in the direction that you kind of want to go. But I would recommend kind of signing up for all of them, really, as a student to be part of the student chapter.
yeah, I didn't know I could do it for free in that way. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, it does not cost anything to be a part of the student chapter of SAA or ALA, or I'm not sure about the other ones, but I'm pretty sure that you can be a part. I know Nicole is still here. Is it free to be a part of Assist student chapter?
This is Violet. I think that Nicole may have had to step away, but I can answer that. The student fees for the national ASIST student membership is $40 a year. I don't believe that we require people to be ASIST members. I'd have to check the bylaws. You definitely can attend our events even if you're not. But if you want to serve on the board, I think you do need to be a member.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I'm going to go eat some dinner now. So.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close it down. I think we're done with the questions. So thank you guys for showing up, and have a good rest of your week. Bye.